Melaख़im Bet, chapter 5. And Naaman, commander of the army of the sovereign of Aram, was a great man in the eyes of his master, and highly respected, because by him Yahweh had given deliverance to Aram. And he was a brave man, but leprous. And the Arameans had gone out on raids, and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel, and she served the wife of Naaman. And she said to her mistress, If only my master were with the prophet who is in Shomeron, then he would recover him of his leprosy. And Naaman went in and reported to his master, saying, Thus and thus spoke the girl who is from the land of Israel. And the sovereign of Aram said, Go enter, and let me send a letter to the sovereign of Israel. And he went and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of garments. And he brought the letter to the sovereign of Israel, which said, And now, when this letter comes to you, see, I have sent Naaman my servant to you, so that you shall recover him of his leprosy. And it came to be, when the sovereign of Israel read the letter, that he tore his garments, and said, Am I Elohim to kill and keep alive, that this man sends a man to me to recover him of his leprosy? For consider now, and see how he is seeking an occasion with me. And it came to be, when Elisha, the man of Elohim, heard that the sovereign of Israel had torn his garments, that he sent to the sovereign, saying, Why have you torn your garments? Please let him come to me, so that he knows that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the entrance of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go, and you shall wash 7 times in the Jordan, that your flesh might be restored to you, and be clean. But Naaman became wroth, and went away, and said, See, I said to myself, he would certainly come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of Yahweh his Elohim, and wave his hand over the place, and recover the leprosy. Are not the Avanah and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? And he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near and spoke to him, and said, My father, if the prophet had spoken to you a great matter, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he says to you, Wash and be clean? Then he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of Elohim. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of Elohim, he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and said, See, now I know that there is no Elohim in all the earth, except in Israel, and now please take a gift from your servant. But he said, As Yahweh lives, before whom I stand, I do not accept it. And he pressed on him to accept it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, If not, please let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for no longer is your servant going to make an ascending offering and slaughtering to the other mighty ones, but to Yahweh. Yahweh grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter, when my master goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there. And he leans on my hand, and I bow down in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down in the house of Rimmon. Yahweh, please grant forgiveness to your servant in this matter. Then he said to him, Go in peace. And when he had gone from him some distance, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Elohim, said to himself, Look, my master has spared Naaman this Aramean, while not receiving from his hands what he brought. But as Yahweh lives, I shall run after him and take whatever from him. And Gehazi pursued Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he came down from the chariot to meet him, and said, Is there peace? And he said, Peace, my master has sent me, saying, Look, even now 2 young men of the sons of the prophets have come to me from the mountains of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Please accept 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and handed them to 2 of his servants. And they bare them ahead of him. And when he came to the high place, he took them from their hand, and stored them away in the house, and let the men go, and they went. And he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said to him, Where did you go, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant did not go anywhere. But he said to him, Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? Is it time to accept silver and to accept garments, and olive trees and vineyards and sheep and cattle, and male and female servants? So let the leprosy of Naaman cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from him as leprous as snow.